In 2009, an inventor from Zimbabwe created something he called the micro-energy device. It's a special system that powers a vehicle without needing gas or a plug. The car just keeps running on its own. At first, it sounds too good to be true, but it's real. And surprisingly, it's not made by Tesla or Toyota. This invention is coming from Africa, and it might change everything. The car doesn't use fuel or wires. It just moves. And now it's not just a prototype, it could go into full production soon. Car companies around the world are shocked. While countries like the US are focused on chip shortages or big EV launches, Africa is quietly building its own car industry. Just 10 years ago, Africa mostly received old cars from other countries. Now, African countries are designing, building, and exporting their own vehicles. These cars aren't made to show off. They are built to survive hard conditions like rough roads, heat, and dust. Morocco is leading the way. In 2024, factories there built more than 610,000 cars. 9 out of 10 were shipped to Europe. That makes Morocco the top car producer in Africa and the second biggest supplier of cars to the European Union, only behind China. Morocco can now build more than 1 million cars every year, which is more than many old factories in Europe. South Africa is also a major player. It has factories for global companies like BMW, Ford, and Toyota. Over 100,000 people work in these car plants, and many more are involved in parts and transport. About 60% of the vehicles made there are exported. These cars are strong, built to handle poor roads, and have features like sealed electronics and tough suspensions. In Nigeria, a company called Innocent Motors is growing fast. In 2020, they built 10,000 cars a year. Now, it's up to 15,000. In late 2024, they launched Nigeria's first electric pickup truck. These are not cheap copies of foreign cars. They're made with thicker metal and extra strong welding to survive Nigeria's bumpy roads. Ghana is also doing well. A company called Kantanka makes about 7,000 vehicles every year. Most stay within the country. They're also trying solar-powered engines to save fuel and help people who drive all day, like taxi drivers. In Kenya, a company called Mobius Motors had some financial problems in 2024 and had to pause production. But with new money, they're back. In 2025, they plan to start full production of the Mobius 3, a strong SUV made mostly from local parts. It has a turbocharged engine and is designed to handle rural areas easily. Africa is also improving how car parts are made. Kenya's Devki Group runs a large steel factory that makes 500,000 tons of steel each year. This helps lower the cost of making car frames. Egypt is building a tire factory that will make 7 million tires every year. These will be used in Morocco and Nigeria. In Nigeria, leather for car seats is produced locally and sent to other countries like Ghana and South Africa. This local supply chain creates jobs and reduces the need to import expensive parts. African cars are built for tough roads. They have high ground clearance and very strong suspension. Electronics are sealed to keep out dust. Instead of fancy touchscreens, they use regular buttons, which are easier to fix and don't break easily. These vehicles can carry farm produce in the morning, drop kids off in the afternoon, and drive through floods at night, without needing a computer to fix them. Electric cars are growing worldwide, but in Africa, charging is a big problem. Over 600 million people still don't have regular electricity. Blackouts are common, and charging stations are very few. Because of this, African electric vehicles use simple systems like solar panels, alternators, or regenerative braking to charge themselves while driving. These systems are basic, but they work well and help people stay connected even during power outages. People are starting to see the benefits. In Ghana, farmers say they spend 30% less on repairs since switching to local cars. In Kenya, people like the Mobius 3 because it keeps dust out. And in Nigeria, Innocent's electric pickup is now used by telecom workers who charge their tools right from the car's battery. Africa's car industry is growing fast, and it's not about luxury. It's about building smart, strong vehicles for real life. Even big car companies around the world are starting to notice what's happening in Africa. For example, Volkswagen's factory in Kigali, Rwanda, now gets dashboard parts from plastic companies in Nairobi, Kenya. Stellantis, which owns brands like Jeep, Peugeot, and Citroën, is also exploring Morocco to open a new SUV factory for the West African market. The truth is, Africa is not trying to copy luxury cars or compete with Tesla. Instead, it's solving real transport problems for real people. Africa started building strong, local vehicles. And China saw the opportunity and joined quickly. While companies in the West were still arguing about whether self-charging cars were real or not, China took action. Chinese businesses started building factories, forming partnerships, and investing across Africa. Their thinking was simple. Even if the technology wasn't perfect yet, it was worth trying. If it could work in Africa, with bumpy roads and unreliable power, then it could work anywhere. In Kenya's capital, Nairobi, we can already see results. A company called Basigo is putting electric buses on the road. They have 17 buses running now, built with help from China's BYD. These buses look new and modern. Chinese parts companies are also helping Kenyan engineers build cheaper power systems to reduce costs for local buyers. In Uganda, China's CHTC is working with Uganda's national car maker, Kiira Motors, to build solar-powered hybrid buses. The goal is to reduce the use of diesel and make public transport less dependent on the electric grid. These partnerships are not about China taking control. They are about working together. In Ethiopia, for example, the government banned new petrol and diesel cars. China's GAC group quickly entered the market with 2 plug-in hybrid models. Chinese experts are now helping local teams get ready for production. Since Ethiopia doesn't have many old gas cars to replace, it wants to jump straight into the electric era, with China's help. In Nigeria, Africa's biggest economy, a Chinese car company called GI signed a deal to sell their small electric cars through Coscarus Motors in Lagos. One of GI's models can recharge using roof solar panels or a generator. It's a cheaper, more practical option than Tesla in places where electricity is not always available. South Africa is also important. It gives Chinese companies access to stricter and more developed markets. BYD plans to triple its dealerships there by the end of next year and will offer 6 electric and 2 hybrid models. They're growing fast. A local bus company, Golden Arrow, has already ordered 120 BYD electric buses, the largest deal for electric buses in South Africa so far. So why is China moving so fast while others wait? The answer is mass production. China isn't waiting for perfect technology. Its factories can already produce thousands of electric vans and pickups that use solar panels and energy-saving brakes. These systems might not be fully self-charging like Tesla's dream, but they are self-sufficient enough for places where the power grid is weak. And that matters in most parts of Africa. This is a growing concern for Tesla. China is Tesla's second-largest market. If Chinese brands like BYD, GI, and GAC can make strong, low-cost cars for Africa and then sell them in other developing countries, Tesla might lose its lead. Chinese companies are willing to take risks. They launch products early and fix problems later. If one of their designs becomes successful, they could spread to Southeast Asia before Tesla even finishes a new deal. But there's more to this than just competition. China is thinking long-term. Instead of taking over patents or demanding control, China calls these deals partnerships. And African governments like that. They're tired of Western rules and strict contracts. At a recent summit, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa praised China and BYD for helping the country deal with power shortages. Now, even though the self-charging car idea is still being developed, China already has a head start. Their deals in Africa are starting to affect the whole global car industry. Big Western car makers were sure they would win. They spent billions on batteries and charging stations. But when Africa introduced the idea of a car that charges itself, it changed everything. Suddenly, auto companies from Detroit to Germany started having emergency meetings. If cars can charge themselves while driving, What happens to all the money spent on charging networks? Volkswagen recently delayed a major EV platform and is now working on hybrid models that can charge on the go, just in case the self-charging idea becomes popular. Toyota is also being careful. Instead of going fully electric, they're now working with Chinese tech companies like Huawei to develop lighter engines and test solar charging on their new electric models. Ford and General Motors are quietly investing in projects that capture more energy from braking and use thin solar panels on the car's surface. These ideas could help them move beyond the limits of regular electric cars. Tesla, however, has a big challenge. They spent over 10 years and billions of dollars to build their supercharger network. That used to be a big advantage. But now, it might actually make it harder for them to change direction. Companies that didn't lock themselves into one system are more flexible now. And customers are starting to notice. A recent survey by Shell asked 15,000 people about electric cars. More than 40% of Europeans and about 1/3 of Americans said they were still unsure about EVs because of charging issues. So while the rest of the world waits for perfect tech, Africa and China are building cars that just work. Simple, smart, and strong. And that might be exactly what the world needs next if self-charging cars become real and reliable. Many people who are unsure about buying electric cars might change their minds. These buyers would prefer newer cars that are easier to use and don't need to be plugged in. Car companies that aren't tied to old charging systems will be ready to meet this new demand. While executives in big companies argue about what to do next, factories in Africa are already moving forward. In South Africa, the car industry employs more than 110,000 people, and that number is growing quickly. The country is receiving billions of rands in new investments for making self-charging vehicles. In Nigeria and Kenya, there is increasing demand for skilled workers like welders, electricians, and software technicians. In Cape Town, a bus company called Golden Arrow ordered 120 electric buses from BYD. This order will keep factories busy for years and help train many workers. Unlike the factories in the US or China, which rely heavily on robots, many African car plants still depend on people doing hands-on work. Workers learn many different tasks like installing solar panels, connecting electric systems, and adjusting the drivetrain, which helps the car move. They aren't just doing simple jobs, they are learning how the technology works. They feel proud of what they build and give helpful suggestions to improve future models. Labor unions, which once feared that machines would take away jobs, now support this new wave of innovation. In Zimbabwe, the Auto Workers Union won a 10% wage increase and better housing for its members. In Nigeria, union leaders are making sure workers get bonuses when companies use more locally sourced materials like steel, rubber, and cloth. This benefits everyone. Companies spend less on transport, and workers get more stable jobs. Africa is showing the world that advanced car manufacturing doesn't have to replace people with machines. Instead, it can train people to become skilled and creative problem solvers. Every new worker who learns to install a solar panel or fix a car part becomes part of something bigger. As this change unfolds, Tesla realized it had to act quickly. Tesla has faced rivals before, but nothing quite like this. When news spread that a Zimbabwean inventor named Maxwell Chikumbutso had built a self-charging electric car, it surprised the tech world, especially in Silicon Valley. He is a 44-year-old man from a place called Jess. Videos of his car, which he claims runs on free energy, went viral online and got millions of views in just a few days. Scientists and engineers from around the world questioned whether it was scientifically possible. But even before the science was confirmed, the public's excitement had already made a big impact. The idea of a car that charges itself while driving sounded like science fiction, but people were starting to believe in it. That made Tesla uneasy. This wasn't just another new electric car, it threatened the foundation of Tesla's business model. Tesla has spent more than $10 billion on its charging network, including home chargers and unique battery technology. If people think they no longer need to plug in their cars, all that investment becomes less useful. It could even be a disadvantage. Elon Musk didn't publicly panic. He has always been doubtful of wireless charging, especially for moving cars, because the laws of physics say you can't get energy from nothing. But when the Chikumbutso story gained attention, Tesla said nothing officially. Behind the scenes, however, the company quickly got to work. Musk reportedly asked Tesla's top engineers to examine the videos and see if any known technology could explain what they were seeing. Experts in batteries, solar energy, and energy recovery systems were told to investigate further, even if the idea seemed unlikely. At the same time, Tesla was already developing its next vehicle, the Redwood, a compact electric crossover that is expected to begin production in mid-2025 at its Texas Gigafactory. Leaked documents revealed that Tesla aims to sell this car for under $30,000, about half the price of the Model 3. The company is now under pressure to add features that make it seem closer to a self-charging car. Engineers are working fast to add solar panel surfaces, stronger regenerative braking, and a new 48-volt electrical system to make the car more energy efficient. These changes won't make the car completely self-charging, but they will help Tesla stay relevant in a market that's becoming focused on energy independence. Tesla was already struggling before this news broke. In Europe, Tesla's share of new electric car registrations dropped below 1% this spring, the fourth month in a row of decline. In April, Tesla's global sales dropped 13%, the worst quarter in nearly 3 years. So, when the Chikumbutso video went viral, it didn't just spark interest, it scared investors. Tesla's stock price dropped, wiping out billions in value. Experts started to wonder not just about the science behind self-charging cars, but whether Tesla could stay ahead if the public embraced this idea. Tesla responded quickly. Their fastest move is to get the Redwood car on the road as soon as possible and make it very affordable. If people can't get a self-charging car yet, maybe they'll go for a cheaper, more efficient option. Behind the scenes, Tesla executives quietly started contacting labs in Africa to find out whether Chikumbutso's design was real, possible to produce, or something in between. They kept these conversations secret, probably to avoid looking like they were chasing a technology they had previously ignored. Internally, Tesla began a new project called Project Infinite. The goal is clear: find every possible way to recover energy while a car is moving. Teams are exploring ways to gather energy from the car's suspension, changes in tire pressure, and even vibrations in the car's panels. Most of these ideas are upgrades to existing energy-saving systems. Tesla hopes they can eventually recover enough energy to power 15% of a car's daily needs, without plugging in. The first test versions of this system are planned for release by 2027. This won't replace Tesla's current charging network, but it might help the company market itself as a leader in self-sustaining travel instead of clinging to outdated systems. However, one major issue remains. No independent lab has confirmed that Chikumbutso's self-charging car actually works. According to science, a car can't move without using energy. But public opinion doesn't always follow scientific facts. People are excited, and that can shift markets. If more people start to believe that plug-free driving is even possible, it could change everything. Tesla now needs to move fast, release a cheaper car, improve energy efficiency, and keep its reputation as an innovative brand. The strange part is that Tesla helped make electric cars cool in the first place, but now it is being challenged by a car that might not need charging at all. Africa is shaking up the auto industry. In the next few months, we will see whether Tesla can keep up, or if it gets left behind by a new kind of revolution. Tesla is making bold moves, but another breakthrough might change how cars charge forever. Roads that charge cars while they drive are no longer just ideas. They're real. About 10 years ago, the thought of roads charging cars sounded crazy. Now, it's happening in several countries. The system is simple in idea but very advanced in how it works. Just a few centimeters under the road surface, flat copper coils are connected to the power grid. These coils create a magnetic field. A special device under the car picks up this energy and turns it into electricity. This system could one day allow electric cars to charge while driving, making charging stations less important. The coils in the road only turn on when a vehicle with the right equipment drives over them. This helps save energy and also keeps people walking nearby safe. This setup is called a dynamic electric road system, and Sweden is leading the way. On the island of Gotland, engineers built a 1.6 kilometers test road called Smart Road Gotland. A 40-ton truck has already driven on it at speeds of 80 kilometers per hour while receiving up to 100 kilowatts of power directly from the road, even during cold and icy winter weather. This wireless charging road is already working. In fact, there's video footage of an electric bus charging while it drives on it. Because of this success, Sweden decided to build the world's first permanent inductive highway. A 21-kilometer section of the E20 highway is being prepared for this, and it's expected to be ready for freight trucks by 2026. But that's just the beginning. Sweden plans to build 2,000 kilometers of these charging roads by the end of the decade. Italy is moving just as quickly. Near the A35 highway in a place called Brescia, engineers have created a 1-kilometer test loop called Arena del Futuro, which means Arena of the Future. It's powered with 1 megawatt of electricity and has already charged a Fiat 500 and an electric bus while they were moving at highway speeds. The system's power transfer efficiency is over 85%, which is very impressive. Fiat's parent company, Stellantis, says this shows that big trucks could use smaller batteries and spend less time at charging stations. This would make the trucks lighter, cheaper, and more efficient. If the technology continues to perform well, Italy plans to install it under a real, active highway once the current winter testing is completed. In the US, Michigan became the first state to install a working dynamic charging road. In Detroit, a quarter-mile stretch of 14th Street now has wireless charging coils under it. The project cost just under $2 million and involved help from the state, the city, Ford, DTE Energy, and an Israeli tech company called Electrion. Tests using a Ford e-Transit van showed that the system can add around 20 kilometers of range per hour at regular city speeds, enough to keep delivery vans powered during their routes. Officials said they will expand the pilot to 1 full mile after they finish collecting performance data through the cold Detroit winter. The biggest challenge so far is cost. A review of road construction projects in Europe showed that adding just 1 kilometer of wireless charging can cost between 6 and 20 million euros. The cost depends on how busy the road is and whether it needs to be fully rebuilt. Still, governments are pushing forward, mainly because large trucks, which cause about a quarter of all road transport pollution, would benefit the most. If those trucks can cut their battery size in half, they can carry more goods and reduce the cost of each vehicle by tens of thousands of euros. Over time, this helps shipping companies save money and makes clean transportation more attractive. This technology is spreading faster than expected. France is starting a new project on the A10 highway near Paris. In Germany, engineers are deciding whether to use wireless charging lanes or stick with the overhead electric cable systems being tested near Frankfurt. China is making progress too. In Wuhan, a 3 kilometers charging road for buses is already being built. In Israel, the company Electrion is building a complete airport shuttle route that charges the buses while they're driving. For everyday drivers, this might seem like a distant technology, but it could have a big impact. Dynamic charging tackles the two main reasons people hesitate to buy electric cars: the high cost and the fear of running out of power. If the road itself helps keep your car charged, then your car doesn't need a huge battery. This lowers the price and the weight of the vehicle. In cities, it can lead to cleaner air and quieter streets, without waiting for everyone to install a home charger. In the countryside and on trucking routes, it allows vehicles to go electric without needing huge battery charging centers along the way. In places like Africa, where self-reliant vehicles are already becoming popular, turning roads into power sources just makes sense. Some people say this technology only works with specially equipped vehicles. But even that issue is being solved. Electrion says the cost of adding a receiver to a vehicle will drop below $2,000 within 2 years. Dynamic charging won't replace plug-in charging right away, and batteries are still very important. But this is no longer a science experiment. It's a working solution that's already being used to solve real-world problems.